Hey, this is Brent with Lykins Motorsports. This is Mr. Dennis's 496, and if you want to fill yourself in from previous videos, we've got the short block done, and we've got one head bolted on, and we've only got one head bolted on because I was waiting for the camshaft to come in, and it is here, and we're about to get that installed. Just a few things that I need to do to prep those things. You got to get some stuff washed and get my parts laid out, and then we'll begin with this week's video. All right, so we're using a custom comp cams hydraulic roller for this engine, and all my cams are custom. Some are more custom than others, which means that sometimes we have to think a little bit outside of the box in order to get the grind that we need. This cam needed some different specs than what normal cam cores are available in. So we had a camshaft made from a full billet. It's called a full round lobe core, and most cam cores come in with some kind of a rough lobe design on them, and then you can fine-tune the specs to what you need. Other cams come with literally full round lobes. That gives you a lot more freedom to cut different lobe separations and different durations and that sort of thing on the cams. This cam, we went with a 117 lobe separation angle, and we did that for a couple different reasons. The biggest reason is because I'm trying to keep overlap in check. With these modern cylinder heads, we don't have to run the amount of overlap that we have to with the factory heads. So trick flow heads and heads like J. Brown's heads and some of the newer ones, they're just so efficient that they don't need as much overlap. A hydraulic roller lobe is such that the lobes aren't as aggressive as a solid roller lobe, which means that the advertised durations are high, which means that the overlap is going to be comparatively higher. So we do what we need to do to get the correct cam for the engine. Like I said, this one is on a 117 lobe separation angle. The 50 thousandths durations are 247, 258. So a fairly good size camshaft for this size engine. Should do quite well, and we're going to go ahead and get this driven or slid in all the way home. I need to concentrate and not talk since the full rotating assembly is in the block. I can't really reach up underneath and guide the cam in, so I have to use the bolt. But we're going to get it in, get our timing set on, and get it degreed. Okay, our cam is in. Brand new steel cam thrust plate. I buy these by the truckload and have them surface ground down to about 158 thousandths. They are too big, it seems like, when I get them. So this will give me the thrust plate that I need, the end plate for the cam. New bolts. I don't do the Phillips head factory stuff. These are new 7/16 14 bolts. Pay very close attention to this bolt right here. When it goes in, there's a feed hole back there that feeds the distributor shaft and gear with oil from the cam bearing. Most bolts go in too far. I was out of the other bolts that I use, so I had to cut this one off to give me the clearance I need. So next step, get our Cloy's billet timing set on and our ARP cam bolt, and get this cam degree. Okay, we're in the midst of battle here on getting all the timing gear fitted. We do have about 5 thousandths of in play. Grab this off here. So a couple things that we need to talk about. If you're doing this at home, some of the cam cores, and it varies from core to core, the dowel pin, they send you several different dowel pins. They are a press fit. So for a one-piece eccentric, you want to be able to, that dowel to engage a lot of the thickness of that eccentric, because that's what aligns everything. My advice here is to not drive the pin in until it bottoms out, but just drive it in. And you can even mock your cam and everything up on the bench. You can put your thrust plate on it, and you put your timing gear on it, and you put your eccentric on it, and put your pin in and just tap it down until you get to a similar point right here. Or you can wait until you're in this scenario right here and just take a punch and pop, pop, pop and get it in. Also, you need to check for fastener engagement on your cam bolt. Mock everything up, your washer, your eccentric, measure how much bolt you have sticking out of the back. Then with the eccentric and washer and bolt out, set your calipers on the face where the eccentric mounts, and check your thread depth down in your hole. You can get ARP bolts. So this core came in with a 7/16 20. Typical factory FE stuff is 7/16 14. ARP makes bolts in varying lengths that you can buy in packs of 5. And you can get the right length bolt that you need. So this also torques at 65 pound-feet for a steel camshaft. Also check your gear-to-gear face alignment. You can use a straight edge. You can even use the long side of a feeler gauge. Just lay it up and make sure that everything is in alignment. So the cam, the way that they grind these cams, they can only grind so much advance into it with the cam grinder, and then it's up to you to, if you want to advance it further, to use the timing gear and do it. That's why we use these nice Cloys 9 keyway sets, and on the cast cams, the flat tappet stuff, we use the Ford Racing timing sets that also have a 9 keyway. But this cam, as I mentioned, is a 117 lobe separation angle. They could only grind 6 degrees of advance into it. We're going to advance it another 4 degrees. That's why I've got the gear on this 4 advanced slot. And now we're going to degree it and see where we come in at. All right, we are finished with the cam degree process, and it takes an incredibly longer amount of time to do it like this. Typically, I try to do it with just one piston in there. It's a lot less resistance, and I can just freely move, whatever I need. But you have 8 pistons with ring drag, and then you got a head on here. It just took a little bit more setup time, but and I did it several times so I could be confident with my results. But I was aiming for a 107 intake center line. We came in at a 107.75, so that is closer than I can adjust it with the timing gear, and so we're going to call it quits with that. We're going to check our piston and valve clearance next, and we'll just get some clay on the pistons, or on the piston, get our head on here, and a couple of rocker arms. You guys have seen me do this in the past, so I'm not going to bore you with the process. I'm just going ahead and get it done. And here's the results of that. We've got about 90 thousandths radial clearance, but the valve stops way up above the relief in the piston. And think about 200 thousandths depth. Over here on the exhaust side, we've got 170 thousandths radial, and well, I'll have to look back at my notes, but we got plenty. So I think, let's see, 213 on the intake side, 345 on the exhaust side clearance. So we are in way good shape. So I'm going to get everything wiped off and cleaned. We're going to get this other head torqued on, and then we're going to turn our attention to the front. We'll get our timing cover, our spacer, our balancer, and see what else we can get into. Timing cover's on, fuel pump block off plate, all stainless fasteners so that they won't rust, brand new. Balancer spacer, power bond, balancer with an ARP bolt, and we'll just draw this on, and once it's seated, we'll torque the balancer bolt, and we'll check true top dead center. I'm going to be using one of my billet adjustable pointers, and I was a dummy and forgot to do it with the passenger side head off. It's a whole lot easier when you use a piston stop. But we'll get this on here. I'll use a piston stop that screws in the spark plug hole, and we'll get our pointer adjusted. Here's a tip on drawing the balancer on. You don't want the crankshaft to turn, so I use a couple of old flywheel bolts and a long-handled screwdriver to foul it, and then you can draw it on without the crankshaft turning. And here we are. So the next step for this engine would be, we are waiting on, I have sent Mr. Dennis's oil pan to Kevco to be modified. He has a factory C8 AX pan. We're going to put some trap doors and baffles in that pan. When it comes back, we'll give it a paint job and put it on. I've already got oil pump and pickup on, and yeah, so Dennis is using a Weber intake, and they are currently on back order. So hopefully we will see that being delivered to Mr. Jim Inglis in sometime in June, and we'll get the intake back and get that bolted on. I am hesitant to order push rods just in case we do have some major fitment issues. I like to generally run the largest push rods that I can fit, but without an intake here, I really don't feel comfortable ordering those. So I may go ahead and get the lengths and have those ready to order, and then if we can run a 3/8 push rod, we'll do that. If we have to neck down to a 5/16, we'll do that. But here we are, and I'm gonna bag her up and get her ready for oil pan coming. Hopefully next week we'll get that. But thanks for tuning in, and thanks for watching the assembly on this one, and hope you guys have a good weekend.